Peace everyone, this is Amira with the Beleza Artistica channel, and today I'm going to do the third part of this maybe 4-part series of how I got started, which the other video I left off where I got married. I got married to the man that I was looking for. Everything was, good. Of course, you go through your honeymoon phase, and then you kind of, get into regular life after all of that is over. And, of course, I had some kids. I had 3 kids, and, it was cool, I was doing the things that I set out to do, was to get married and start my family. And after that, I didn't know exactly what I was gonna do, but of course I had in my mind that I would do something after that, but I just didn't know what it was. After I had my last kids, which were twins, it was a different experience than the first time because I just had 1 kid the first time. So the experience of carrying twins was a big one. Carrying twins makes you more tired. Of course, as you can imagine, you get bigger because you're carrying 2 babies instead of just 1. And I was always tired, and there was a point in time where I couldn't even sleep laying down. I had to sleep sitting up for like maybe 2 months or so. Once I gave birth to the twins, I did it naturally. I didn't get a C-section, and I didn't have an epidural. And the protocol is when you have twins, you have to be in the OR no matter what. That's just the protocol. So I was in there, and they have you on this, like, the little metal table where they usually do their operating. First one came out easy, second one not so easy, but he eventually came out. I don't want to get so much into the details of that story. Needless to say, they're both all right. They're both healthy. Thank God. So I decided to dedicate 3 years just to my kids, and to, my family. I just wanted to focus on family. It was a good decision. I feel like I got to really bond with my kids and my family at that point in time. On the flip side, I could see where it was kind of not so good to do that, because then I became a hermit, just thinking about myself basically, because as you can imagine, if you cut yourself off from everybody and everything, that you would be a lot in your head, thinking about, your imperfections and what you're not good at, and thinking about the past. Like, you know what I mean? There was a lot of times when I would just think, what happened to that girl that used to love to do art and crafts? And what happened to that girl that used to do poetry? You know what I mean? And I would try to draw, I would try to write something, and I just couldn't. It just felt like something was physically blocking me from doing so. It wasn't a long period of time, but when you're going through something like that, like self-worth issues or problems and thoughts, it just seems like it never gets better. It just seems like you'll be in that state forever. You just don't see the end of it. Around that time when I was feeling like this, I just felt like if I could have a chance to just do something else, to do something out of the ordinary, just to get out of this cycle of, the everyday cycle of life. You just, you get up, you do what you got to do, you go to sleep, you get up, you do what you got to do, you go to sleep. Like, a lot of people get stuck in that cycle, and they just, like I said, sometimes you get stuck in it and you just can't see yourself doing anything else. I just felt like if I could take a break from that, to just get away from that for a while and just restart myself, that would be great. But I didn't see how I could do that because I had kids. They were young kids and they needed me. So I didn't see how I could do that. But lo and behold, there was an opportunity for me to do that coming soon, and I didn't know. Me and my husband looking into going to study abroad. I was always kind of afraid of this idea because, as you can imagine, being a hermit, you don't really like to get out. You don't want to get out. You don't want to socialize with people. So I'm like thinking to myself, if we go studying abroad, you know, who am I going to talk to? I won't have my family with me, and Colorado's like the only place I've ever lived. So thinking about living somewhere else for even 3 years is just felt like too much. So, we just put it off. I don't know, for whatever reason, my husband found a school in Trinidad and Tobago that he was interested in. And for some reason, I was cool with that idea. Because, to me, Trinidad and Tobago didn't seem too far away because it's still in the Americas. It's just in the Caribbean, and I've always wanted to, go somewhere tropical. Because in Denver, it's, the mile high city. It's high, it's dry, and it's very not tropical. I don't know. So it just seemed like the very opposite of where I grew up. So my husband was excited, and I told him the only way that I will go and live there is if we visit first, just to visit to see how it is, because like I said before, I don't like to get into things, and be blindsided. I like to know what I'm getting into before I do it. So I did a lot of research about Trinidad and Tobago, and I also wanted to physically be there, because reading about some place and being there is two different things. So he booked the tickets for us. He set up some things for us with the people at the school. He arranged for us a place to stay while we were there, and then we were all set to go. So our flight plan was we went from Denver to Florida, and then Florida to Trinidad and Tobago. We had some friends in Miami that we stayed with because it was just a little stopover, about 8 hour stopover. So we, spent a little time with them while we were waiting for our flight over there to Trinidad and Tobago. So we got to see Miami. Miami was cool, to me, I was like, how more tropical can it get? You got the palm trees, you got the ocean there, you got the beaches, just the humidity and everything. It's like everything tropical to me at that point. I was like, this is cool enough. Maybe we'll just not go to Trinidad and Tobago. This is cool enough for me. Being in Miami was cool because it was like a whole different place than Denver is. So after our stopover, we took a flight from Miami to Trinidad and Tobago, and that flight was about 4 to 5 hours. That's when I really started getting nervous, because I'm like, we are flying over the water, and I was really paying attention. You know how they give those little tutorial type deals, like, talking about how you can use your seat as a flotation device and all those things. I was paying attention because I was like, you don't know, we could be up in that water, and you need to know how to save your life. So I was just, nervous going to another country. Just going to a new country is scary because I never had left like the western part of the US at all. Like, that's where I stayed, that's where we vacationed, if you want to say that. The only places I had ever been in the US were, I went to Chicago one time. I was a baby, and I don't really remember that, so I don't even count that. But the places I can remember I've been: New Mexico, California. That's about it. On the plane ride there, and when we were getting close to Trinidad and Tobago, I could, because like all we were seeing really after some point is just water, water, water everywhere and sky. So when we were coming up on the island and I was seeing it, and it just looked like a little bit of land just floating there in the ocean, and I'm thinking, wow, we're gonna be landing there. It's a cool and also scary feeling, and also to think about being on an island just out in the sea somewhere. And the closer we got, I could see how green it was. Um, it's just so beautiful, so different. So I kept a journal when I was there, and even when I was in Miami and before we even left, I was just like, maybe this was me getting back in touch with my writer's side, which was cool because I never really journaled. I kept this journal when I was there and I wrote in it every day that we were gone, which we were gone for about 10 days. Our kids, they stayed with my mom. She took care of them, and thank you so much, Mom, because this trip really changed my life. All right, so when we first got to Trinidad and Tobago, being there and feeling the humidity, I mean, there was humidity in Florida too, but it felt to me like it was even more humid um, in Trinidad and Tobago. And when we got into the actual airport, going through the customs and stuff, I even saw on the windows that there was what I would call, mildew of some kind. Just because it's so humid, like there's always condensation on the windows there. Um, it's weird. It's very different than here in Colorado. We were waiting outside of the airport for quite some time. I had to go to the bathroom. Long story short, our ride came after some time. And as he was taking us to where we were going to be staying while we were there in Trinidad and Tobago, we stopped by a KFC. And for those of you who are Muslim, you know that we eat halal. So over there is so many halal places. So it was pretty cool because here in Colorado, there's not so many halal options. If you live here, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, we went to the halal KFC, and it was weird because I haven't had KFC in a long time, and it was kind of like mixed feelings. It's like I'm happy that I'm able to eat this, but fried chicken really isn't healthy, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, all these fast food places are halal, but it's like, should you eat it? Not really, because it's, not healthy for you. At that point, I was feeling mixed feelings. I was feeling happy, excited, nervous, and anxious because I felt like this is it. This is real. I can't just go home on one flight. You know what I'm saying? I'm here and I'm going to be here for 7 days straight. And that's was an overwhelming feeling for me because at that time, like I was saying before, I was having a lot of like hermit like tendencies where I didn't like to be out. I didn't want to be doing new things, but I wanted to push myself because I said, you know what? You're going to get through this, and this is going to help you, and you're going to be a better person after this. You are. I really believed that, and I told myself that whenever I started feeling like just curling up into a corner and hiding from everyone. I just needed to get out of that mindset of trying to hide from people. I'm like, I got to be out there. If I'm going to be living here, I need to open up because I need to make these connections myself. So yeah, and it was pretty cool. People, of course, instantly knew I wasn't from Trinidad and Tobago because until I opened my mouth, I looked like most people there. There was a lot of niqabis there. And a lot of brown people because interesting fact, half I'm just gonna be very general with this. Half of the population is of Indian descent, Indian from India, of Indian descent, and then half of the population is of African descent. So most of the people you see there are either black or Indian, and that's also very different from here in Colorado. It was cool to finally fit in and people not look at you like you're a foreigner, because of obviously the way that I dress is very different. But over there, since there's like a big Muslim presence there, it was cool to just fit in, skin color and all. But the people, they're very kind, very nice, just laid back, chill type people. And of course, the Caribbean accent, I love it. I wish I could imitate it, but I can't. Um, and what's another funny thing, when we were there, my husband, he has a Kenyan accent, and I don't think they really come into contact with a lot of people from Africa. Um, so they had a hard time understanding his accent at times, and my husband had a hard time understanding their accent. Before we even went to Trinidad and Tobago, I was looking at like Trini YouTubers, trying to get a feel for their accent, because I don't come into contact with a lot of people with Caribbean accents here in Colorado. But I wanted to just be accustomed to hearing it and how they speak. I mean, there's some things that you won't get because their dialect is a little different at times, and when they're speaking in their slang heavy, I mean, I don't understand what the heck they're saying. I'm very lost. But as far as like, regular common talking without all the extra stuff, is just, I understand them just fine. But it was cool. Like, I wish I could like talk about this so much more, but I don't want to make this video super long. Basically, by the end of that trip, I had found myself again. The person who was outgoing, the person who loved to talk with people, to be around people. I actually found my writer's side again through keeping this journal while I was there. It really helped me to find myself again, to get out of my shell and to just be open to new experiences and to not be afraid. Because what this whole trip showed me was you can't be afraid of things or life. You should just go for it. And also, I just want to let you guys know that we didn't end up going to attend the school in Trinidad and Tobago for a few reasons. It wasn't the end, and it wasn't a wasted trip, because it was kind of like a multi-purpose trip to get away, to check out the school, and to just relax, have a little vacation. I really feel like I didn't do the whole story justice. I mean, as far as the Trinidad and Tobago part, because it was a really cool trip, and maybe I'll just make a video about the things I did in Trinidad and Tobago, because there was a lot of things I didn't even get to talk about Tobago, how it was. But yeah, definitely I'll try to make a video just about my travels. I'll use my little journal to help me with that. I just want to thank you guys for watching my videos. I just want to thank you guys, all of you guys. And if you're not subscribed yet, just go ahead and click the subscribe button. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I always appreciate it. And I will pick up this story in the next segment of this 4-part series. I think I'm going to make it a 4-part series. The last one being how I got started in henna. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace. وعلى الروان